Välkommen allesammans! I touched on this subject in my video a while back and I promised I would go into a bit more depth. So here it is in this video, the swastika. Although we shouldn't really call it that because that's probably not what it was called originally in the north of Europe. But either way, this symbol was not some foreign image that was culturally appropriated from Eastern spirituality and brought into Northern Europe for the first time in the 1930s. No. This is an incredibly ancient symbol used not just by the Norse and Germanic peoples for thousands of years, but used all over the world by all these different cultures on every continent. I'm not here to speak about how this symbol was used in other places in the world. I'm just going over the archaeological finds from the Norse and Germanic culture, since this is what this channel focuses on, and we're going to try and figure out exactly what this was used for originally and why, because there are, as usual, a lot of lies about this, and we need to clear these things up, because it was a very powerful and important symbol of our old native spiritualities, and an important symbol in our religion. It's not like we're ever going to be able to use it ever again in the near future, and it's actually illegal in most of our countries in the modern day, but we can slowly start taking these symbols back by actually knowing what they were originally used for. So, on to the sources. You will find it on so many archaeological finds from the Viking Age, and even before, hundreds of them, but just going over a few of the most famous ones here. First is the Snodelev runestone from Denmark, dated to the 800s, the early Viking Age. It's just a memorial stone for a man named Gunvalder, who was, we think, some sort of spiritual leader. Also, there's an image there of 3 drinking horns, it seems, but not much more info is given on that stone. We also see this on quite a lot of other funeral and burial memorial related objects. Most of these symbols come on cremation urns. We find these all over Scandinavia, but also other Germanic areas, such as this one from Anglo-Saxon England, dated to the 500s, when they were still pagan there, following the same religion as the Norse, basically. So definitely seems like a religious and even a funeral-like notion to the swastika, perhaps associated with memory or journeys to the other world. We also find this symbol on weapons from the Viking Age all the way back to the migration period, as far as the Goths living in the east of Europe. We find it on lots of spearheads, but the most notable weapon that we find it on is the sabre sword, dated to the 800s, found in Norway. And the inscription reads, O swastika muth. So this is one of the reasons that in the 1800s historians started to suggest that the swastika was a symbol representing Thor, or maybe Thor's hammer Mjolnir. So if they did that, it would say O Tormuth, meaning something like Thor owns me, which was an invocation that we see to Thor found in other archaeological artifacts. So it's possibly invoking Thor for protection in battle, not victory in battle, okay? Don't think it means victory, because Odin and Tyr are the ones that would be invoked for victory. Thor is usually invoked or prayed to or sacrificed to for protection and health, as I covered in this video. Another interesting weapon, it's a spearhead from the 300s found in Damsdorf, Germany area. It has the swastika and a couple other symbols on it, and the word Ranja. So it's meaning something like the one who causes to run away. So it's a spear that was supposed to make the enemy flee. Okay, pretty cool there. We also find the symbol on a number of amulets. There are dozens of them. Most of them are just gibberish and no full words are written out, which mean they were most likely used for some sort of magical purpose. Here are a couple examples, but there are dozens more like these. The #1 best book to see more about these amulets is this one right here. There's a link to that in the description, and I recommend everyone who gets into runes and magic should read this book. There's no modern New Age garbage in it. It's just pure archaeological evidence looking at the finds. And I can tell you from this book, the vast majority of swastikas that are found documented are believed to be for some sort of protection. These amulets for protection. There is a whole section of the book just on protective amulets. Those could be some more functional and even spiritual things that we find the swastika used for, such as protection and for weapons and things like that. But we also see the swastika on plenty of regular day-to-day things, such as the Værløse fibula, dated to the 200s from Denmark. This is much before the Viking Age, and here it's simply a pin used for decoration on clothes, and it has the word alugod, which is kind of a religious phrase that we see on lots of different runic inscriptions. We even see it here on a comb dated to Denmark in the 200s. Notice here how some of these are facing left and some of them are facing right from the different archaeological finds. We definitely have both. We even have on the very same item we have on this bucket from the famous Oseberg ship, the symbols are shown both left and right facing here. So the Norse absolutely had use of it facing both ways, just like they did in the East. But all these finds are just so diverse, and I only went over a few of the most notable ones here, so we really can't say for certain what they all have in common and what the function might have been originally. Like I said, some scholars have associated the swastika with Thor, some have associated with protection and power. Okay, we can see that. Thor is, typically associated with protection and health in the sources. But in other Indo-European cultures, the swastika is more attached to the sun gods, when Thor is more of a sky and a thunder god. So another theory that they have suggested is that the swastika in the north of Europe is simply a continuation of the sun wheel, which we find more in Bronze Age archaeology. And then it developed, and swastika was used more as we get to the Viking Age and migration period. I do like that theory, it lines up, except why would people put a symbol of the sun on all these items? Weapons, combs, urns, buckets, don't really know. Another theory that scholars have suggested is that the swastika was simply used to give extra power to whatever runic inscription or item and whatever function that was supposed to have. So sure, that's a very good explanation, one that I'm in most favor of, and that it was simply a symbol that was used to give additional power to whatever the item was supposed to do. Easy, that explains pretty much all the evidence. Just some bonus info from me. You won't read this anywhere else. This is just my humble thoughts. The swastika mocks the act of circular motions. Okay, if you see my video that I did on circular movements in the Norse traditions, all these things like walking or riding in circles before a ceremony or ritual, or things like stirring some concoction or salve 9 times, twisting something 3 times, spinning in circles, weaving, so many things, spinning in circular motion, usually counterclockwise, was done in the Norse spiritual practices. This was done from the sources we have from the Viking Age all the way into the folk tradition, from things and practices from just 100 or 200 years ago. The purpose is to basically wake up the spirits or assemble the energy or summon the power to the area, or that kind of thing that you're trying to bring some sort of effect to. The circular movements are basically invoking or even hollowing the area. Think about a tornado or a whirlpool. These circular movements just assemble the energy that is around it, exactly like that. I think that's what the swastika is when it is carved out or written down. And it's going counterclockwise, the opposite direction to the sun. It does the same thing. It assembles the surrounding energy to that object to do the effect that was intended, giving it more power, just like the scholars have suggested. When the opposite is done and it's drawn in a clockwise motion, just as the sun moves, the natural cycle of things, more resembling the cycles of the sun and all natural way and the flow of things, it's similar to other cultures around the world and their meaning of the swastika too. Clockwise movements ensure that the cycles continue as they are supposed to, as was planned. Counterclockwise movements are used when it is time to break something up, change things, and bring on an effect that wasn't going to happen otherwise, altering fate in a way. That's why counterclockwise things are used in magic and religious rituals in the Norse tradition. Who knows? Those are just my thoughts. I would like to say that I've tried this out, but I haven't. You can't just go around carving runes and swastikas all over the place, and it's unfortunate because whatever the original meaning was, it did not mean something hateful, and ancient humans only used it to bring benefits to things. The Nazis didn't even mean for this symbol to be a hateful thing. They were very educated on Norse and Germanic archaeology, okay? So the idea that the Nazis just stole it from the East is all garbage. So they knew that the swastika was a symbol used originally by their ancestors in the north of Europe, even though, yeah, a lot of horrible things were done at the time by people wearing this symbol. But it wasn't until after the war that people started associating it with hate and evil, and now it's even illegal to have it in most countries. So unfortunately, this is an aspect of our spirituality that is lost and going to be near impossible to take back, but proper education like this is a step in the right direction. So share this video with whoever you like. The more people see it, the better. Like I said, this is a symbol used all around the world by all kinds of different cultures for slightly different reasons, but all kind of tying back to the same thing. It brings benefits and power to whatever articles or area that it is carved upon. So that's all for today. Vi ses nästa gång.